Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashyatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, we welcome everyone for today's reading. We are reading from 7th chapter, verse number 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Tribe Gunamaye Bhave Ebihi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabijanati Mamebhya Paramapayam. Delivered by the three modes, goodness, passion, ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who I am above the modes and inexhaustible. Purport. The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas, under passion are called Kshatriyas, those under passion ignorance are called Vaishyas, and those who are complete ignorance are called as Shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animals' life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, whatever. In any case, the life is temporary. All the life is temporary. We do not know what we are going to be in the next life by the spell of this illusory energy. We consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is behind all these modes? The Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. All of them have forgotten the transcendental personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion, ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord and His personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in the goodness cannot understand what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance. Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature. And those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. One simple way to understand the modes of material nature is in the form of a magic spell, like that. This had been discussed before also in the 3rd chapter, where the influence of lust on a living entity has been described in 3 different forms of analogies. First, the fire covered with smoke, the mirror covered with dirt, and the embryo covered with womb, like that. These are different levels. So goodness, passion, ignorance, that was represented there, like that. So this is what it is. Anyone and whoever comes to this material world gets covered. And what is the idea behind gets covered by this thing? He forgets his real identity. And in one way, these 3 modes facilitates his wish of becoming Krishna. This further actually assists him. We have discussed in the previous verses how living entity is dependent, is not independent. And because of his eternal relationship with the Lord, although he has got into a conflict with the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his own selfish nature, one second. He has got in conflict with the Lord because of his selfish nature, and Lord has provided this creation for his fulfillment of desire that can only happen when he doesn't remember the Lord. Because if he has to remember the Lord, then he can really become the king. How can he become the king when he had been always a servant? So this three modes of material nature facilitates that. Text number 14. Now question comes where Arjuna thinks, oh my dear Lord, I have been covered over. Oh really? This is how people cannot understand you. So then how can people understand you? In other words, if we all are covered by the magic spell because of which we cannot understand you, then how can we get rid of this magic spell? Because unless we are freed from this magic spell, we cannot understand Krishna as he is. We all would have some understanding and some realization. Even as a practicing sadhakas, all of us, if we begin to think on subject matter of our realization of Krishna, all of us would have our own realizations. But one good thing is, at the end of the day, we'll quote some scriptural evidence. But what is our level of realization? All this impersonalists, they also have the realization. Now, the problem with the impersonalists, as compared to in comparison to bhaktas, the impersonalists, their their journey about self-realization begins with the misunderstanding that I can become Krishna by merging in him. So there are two ways. Karmis are straightforward envious of the Lord. They want to compete with him and they want to forget him. Impersonalists want to become him by merging in him. Is it getting that? It's the same thing. So one wants to become Krishna by practicing spiritual path by merging in him. You become one with him. That is again the desire to become Krishna, the absolute. That is called as Mayavadis or impersonalists for that reason. And Karmis are those who want to reject the idea that there is any other greater personality than I am. Parishram karo, work hard, and you can become the strongest person. So how do we get rid of all these misconceptions? That is the answer given in 14th verse. Devi hi Gunamayi Mama Maya Adratya Mami Vai Prapantyanti Mayamitam Taranti Te. This energy, divine energy of mind, is very, very difficult to overcome. Duratyaya, which means impossible. Mami Vai Prapadyanti means surrender. But if one surrenders unto me, Maya Metam Taranti Te. Taranti matlab cross kara dena. So I can deliver such a person who takes my shelter. Purport. The Supreme Lord has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. All the living entities are part of his energies, are therefore divine. But due to contact with material nature, the original superior nature is covered, or power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality Godhead, are eternal. In other words, our condition is like as if we are locked inside the house and we have, and we have lost the key. We don't know how to open it. The key is missing. Now, when you're locked inside the house, there is, and it is being locked from outside, and there's no key for it. You really cannot open it. Who can open it? Okay, somebody from inside can come and open it? No. It can only be opened by somebody who is outside the house. That is what is meaning of this verse here. Krishna can open it. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations of the Lord, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal nature of the Lord, but due to contamination with inferior nature, the illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha. No one can trace out the history of being conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine due to its divine connection with and movement by the divine will. Being connected by divine will, material nature, all the inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan, Mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya's illusion is false and temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, supreme personality of Godhead. Shweta Ashtar Upanishad. Another meaning of guna is rope. A man is bound with the hands and feet, cannot free himself. Another analogy to help us understand. He must be held by a person who is unbound. जब खुद ही free है तभी तो दूसरे को free कर सकता है. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna, his bona fide representative, can help in such a situation. Okay. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusion energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The word Mam Eva, Krishna says only me, which means no Brahma, no Shiva, no Durga, no Ganeshji, nobody. That is the point being Prabhupada expressed in the next paragraph. When Krishna says Mam Eva ye prapadyanti, only Krishna can deliver, no one else. Ma means unto Krishna or Vishnu only, not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna and Tamoguna to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned souls, like that. Text number 15. Then question comes, my dear Lord, then why people are not taking shelter of you to get released? If you only can give shelter, you only can give us freedom from this modes of matter nature, why people are not taking shelter of you? Krishna says, let me tell you. Nama dushkritano moda prabhadante naradama maya apratmyana asuram bhavama shvetaha. Dushkriti. So let's take a look. The purport is big. I'll be quick with it. If you go in the first, second, third paragraph, purport describes the meaning of word kriti. Third paragraph of the purport. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word dushkritinaha. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. That is kirti, kirtiman. So dushkriti means you can say those who use the God-given facility to create problems for oneself and for others. Sukriti refers to pious. So the word Dushkriti and Sukriti is used by Krishna in this verse and the next verse. So Dushkriti means the sinful living entities and Sukriti means the pious living entity, which means those who uses the God-given facility for the betterment of oneself and the society. So Namam Dushkritano, मूढ़ा, चार प्रकार के जो लोग हैं जो मेरी शरण में नहीं आते हैं. पहला व्यक्ति मूढ़ा, जिसको गधा कहा जाता है प्रेम से. दूसरा व्यक्ति नराधमा, हु इज द लोएस्ट ऑफ ऑल मैनकाइंड. माया आहप्रत ज्ञाना, तीसरा व्यक्ति जिसके ज्ञान का अपहरण हो गया है. चौथा आसुरम भावम, जो आसुरिक प्रवृत्ति का है. ऐसे चार व्यक्ति कृष्ण सेज does not take shelter of mind, like that. Okay, let's take a look at the purport. Third line of the purport. I will be selective in reading here. At this point, a question arises: how is that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender the lotus feet of Shri Krishna? So that's what I said. The question is this. Arjuna is wondering why they don't take shelter. The learned classes do not take shelter. Mukti or liberation from the laws of matter is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways, with great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible by simply understanding under the lotus, surrendering under the lotus feet of the Supreme Person of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent, hard-working leaders adopt this simple method? For example, scientists are trying their ways and methods to give longevity of life. Or in fact, maybe they are making attempts to make person eternal. That's a question. Well, Krishna gives an answer how you can become eternal in text number 14. So why these scientists are not taking shelter of the Lord? That's the question. Gita answers this question, second paragraph, very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society, like Brahma, Shiva, etc., who are faithful philosopher, politician, educator, scientist, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person. Those are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, but who pose themselves as such, very important, for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and complicate the problems of material existence in their vain, which means futile, attempts to solve them. Because material energy is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheist and baffle the knowledge of planning commission. Beautiful, beautiful. Next paragraph, third line. The atheist plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist's brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Lord, the atheist plan maker is called as Dushkriti. They do not use the God-given facility in service, but against. That's the point here. The next paragraph. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that mental energy works fully under the direction. It has no independent authority like that. And few lines below in the paragraph, under illusion and modes of passion ignorance, all his plans are baffled. His means Jivatmas, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. This Duskritanas or miscreants are of 4 different patterns as outlined below. So Prabhupada often quotes an example of Hiranyakashipu across various pages of his writings to give an indication that how Hiranyakashipu was highly learned. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll read about after the death of Hiranyaksha, his brother, he spoke Bhagavad Gita. There is the Hiranyakashipu Gita also in Srimad Bhagavatam. only difference between Bhagavad Gita and Hiranyakashipu Gita is Hiranyakashipu spoke about Kala, Karma, Prakriti, Jivatma, but not Ishwar. He did not speak about Ishwar. He spoke about Kala, Karma, everything. So, and he was extremely powerful. He ruled over the whole universe. But however, at the end of the day, just because of his 5-year-old boy became a devotee of the Lord, his all plans were shattered. The Prabhupada quotes, nobody can be as great as Hiranyakashipu ever in this creation. Even that man failed. Right? This is what had happened. Ravana was shown, who is Ram. I'm missing who had shown. Ravana was taken once to a place, I believe to a Patalok or somewhere, and just to show him who is Ram, he was told that let me tell you who you're fighting with. So Ravana was brought to a place. There was a huge mountain, and the person asked him, please lift it up, and he couldn't. Then Ravana asked, what is this? He said, this is the earring of your previous incarnation, Hiranyakashipu. A earring of the ring, something. And he said, Ram in the previous avatar as Nrsimhadev had killed Hiranyakashipu. And you toddler in front of this whole mountain, you're thinking to fight with Ram. That's the story comes. This is not part of Valmiki Ramayana, but later on edition mentions. Anyway, so let's talk about the 4 great personalities who are fooling us around all this while. First is the Moodas. Now, what is the Moodas? They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves. So they do not want to part with them for the Supreme. They are the one who will always say, अरे ISKCON के पास तो इतना पैसा है, आप फिर भी चंदा मांगता रहते हो, आपको क्या जरूरत है? हम लोग इतना संघर्ष कर रहे हैं रोटी कमाकर खाने के लिए. Let us enjoy. Next few lines. Okay, this is a very beautiful point. So let's read it. The typical example of this beast of burden is the ass. This humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. This is so interesting, huh? The S does not know. First feature, let's talk about the features. Why Mudas are compared to S? Those who are working hard day and night. Sounds very familiar, right? I'm right now in Hinjawadi. I can see a lot of TCS, Infosys. Sounds about their description going on here. Huh? They are working hard day and night. First thing, they work hard day and night. Very hard. Second thing, they work hard day and night. They don't know for whom they are working. Have you wondered about it? If it was not for Krishna consciousness, think about your life prior to it. किसके लिए काम किया करते थे? बॉस के लिए, पत्नी के लिए, बच्चों के लिए, लाते सब जगह से पड़ती थी. मैं नहीं कह रहा, प्रभुपाद कह रहे हैं. हाँ, let's see. The S does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a life under fear of being beaten by his master. Which means sleeping for a while means I have to wake up. I have to go for a job. And satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The S sings poetry and philosophy sometimes. But this braying sound only disturb others. Therefore, you'll see whenever there is a society meeting, people fight like anything. Everyone wants to give their own ideas how the society should run. And they're willing to, literally they get into fist fighting, literally. This is the position of the foolish fruity worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma is meant for yajna. Then, next paragraph, third line, to such mudas, material gains which are destructible are lives all in all, despite the fact that the mudas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Why? Because so much tax goes, then so much education loan, then doctor's bill, then home loan, then car loan, all apart from all this loan and taxes. Then when you go on highway, then you pay toll, then you buy petrol, and then you're hungry, then you go to the restaurant, and then you again spend, and then you get indigestion. By the time you reach destination, you stop by a doctor again to take some medicine to clear your indigestion. Despite the fact mudas enjoy only a very small fraction, sometimes they spend sleepless nights and days and nights for food gain. And although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied with practically no food. They're simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Huh? Sounds familiar? How many of you? Very well. Indigestion, ulcers, sleepless night, and then operation, and trying to serve for the illusory masters, right? Young IT engineers are getting operated these days. I know of it. Some of them are sitting here only. They had to work so hard. I mean, of course, what they can do is a part of the system. But I'm just saying, Prabhupada, so correctly he's writing. You can relate your own story here. Ignorant of their real master, the foolish workers waste their valuable time serving mammon. Unfortunately, they never surrender to Supreme Master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. So why Prabhupada says unfortunately? Because of all this illusion, even if you, for their benefit, you go and talk to them and tell them, please hear Krishna Katha or hear the message of Bhagavad Gita can be beneficial, their immediate response is, no time. We have all this experience also, So these people are said to be unfortunate. The swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept sweet meats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear the sense-enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world. So factual. So when a person says, I have no time, does he really have no time? But when it comes to entertainment, watching movies, doing prajalpa, or looking at WhatsApp messages, or watching YouTube videos, he has plenty. So it says, continue hear of the sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. This is called as mudas. Second, this is our understanding, not to go and call them mudas. Be careful. Now, second category, Dushkriti. Second category is Naradama. Prabhupada says there are 8.4 million species, 400,000 are human beings. There are civilized, uncivilized. Civilized human beings are those who follow the regular principles of social, political, religious life. However, those who do not follow the regulative principles of social, political, religious life, who live on the animalistic level, they are called as Naradama, which means nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following religious principles is to know the supreme truth. and man's relation, which means they may have some religious practice. No. What it means by Prabhupada says, those who are socially, politically developed but have no religious principles must be considered Naradama, because there is, nor is religion without God a religion. In the Gita, the personal God clearly states that there is no authority above him, and that is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relationship. Whoever loses his chance is classified as Naradama. This is what is being described in this. And then in the next paragraph, it says the duty of parents to help people revive their God consciousness. The next paragraph. When the whole population becomes Naradama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of the Gita, a learned man is he who sees on equal terms the learned Brahmana, the dog, the cow, elephant, and the dog eater. That is a vision of true devotee. So, I was once watching a video, which was it was a short video, and the title of the video was interviewing the richest Generation X, which means richest kids, somewhere between the age of, let's say, 15 to 25, like that. So it was a short video, and here in this video, this person in Los Angeles, or let's say San Francisco, he was walking into the big mansions, and he would find out the owner, and he will talk to them. So here he went to one particular house. It was a huge mansion. There was, as usual, some party was going on. It was right at the beach, and he found out who is hosting this party. It was a young man, maybe at the age of 25 or something, and this interviewer went to him and asked him, "Oh, you're the host? You're the owner of this place?" He said, "Yes." I said, "What do you do for earning?" Suddenly he was taken aback. He says, "I make people all over the world run around." And then I began to think about this point. This Naradama, which is being discussed here, if you see, those who are in today's time are generally rich. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm just saying they may have, as Prabhupada says, they may have some social or political developed system. But if they're not God conscious, they're called as Naradama, which means people become so selfish and so self-centered. They don't give a damn about the life of other living. For example, there was a FIFA World Cup, and there was some controversy, not some various controversy there, whatever the list of controversies. One point was that one of the minister of that state, actually there were a lot of life loss that had happened while during this building of the stadiums for this FIFA tournament. So he was the minister in charge for it, was asked a question, "Sir, there we have heard a news of there has been a lot of exploitation of the labor because you want to have this stadium ready, etc., and there had been life loss." The minister said, "Well, when you do some big works, obviously some people would die. What's a big deal about it?" So now it's, for all of us as a practicing devotee, may sound like almost unimaginable. How can you take life so cheaply? But the point is, this is what other category of people being discussed here. For them, this life is the only life. And for them, they want to live it to an extent they don't care about the other living entity. And this situation of mankind has largely come into its state because of this is Darwin's theory. The Second World War, Hitler, Mussolini, I'm giving you certain details. Why over a period of time we have developed this kind of mindset, that this is only one lifetime and enjoy, and people become selfish. Hitler and Mussolini, their behavior were analyzed by the psychologists and historians, and they came to a conclusion why they became so brutal. But the Hitler, what kind of exploitation of another human being he did? He forced and compelled his doctors or medical staff or the research team of his country to do live medical experiments, which means generally whenever new medicine or experiment is done, it is done on an animal, which is also brutal, but at least better than doing on a human being, because at least you can relate there. Here, the person was not even put on anesthesia, and different kinds of surgeries were experimented on him. Not by terrorists, by the doctors. And they were finding means how to quickly repair the body. For example, the soldiers were getting injured in the war. So, how to fix their injury? They will cause that injury on the patient's body, and then they will try different medicine and cure to fix it. You're getting the point here? So, I'm just giving you some of the ideas about their brutality. So, their mindset was studied, and they found out, the historians found out, in the early century, this whole Darwin theory has really picked up the steam. And the reason is, in 1905, the missing link was discovered. If you all know about the Darwin theory, in 1905, until then, scientists were debating Darwin theory is false, because if apes and turn into a man, then there should be a missing link where there should be half man, half ape. In 1905, the fabricated story was put into the media that we have found a structure which is half man and half human, which at that point of time had established Darwin theory to be factual. And that is how the mindset. That's the reason Hitler was, I am the highest, biggest race. Because then if everyone have evolved from apes to humans, now in human beings, now we have different levels of consciousness, and there leads to competition, who is the highest. And that is the reason Hitler used to say, I am the part of the highest race, and that highest race is called as Aryans. And that was the whole mindset. And this is all Naradama category of people, who are selfish, self-centered, they do not care for anyone, and there is no regulated principles of social, political, and religious. That's the point about it. Like that. Okay. Next paragraph. Who is Maya Aparatgyana? Maya Aparatgyana refers to the scientists, philosophers, learned people who have, Prabhupada says, or those whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by influence of illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, etc. So next paragraph, there are a number of Maya Pratyana at the present moment, even amongst the scholars of Bhagavad Gita, which means they have given a commentary of Bhagavad Gita, they're scholars, but yet they come into the category of Maya Pratyana. Why? Because after writing the commentary of Bhagavad Gita, they say Krishna does not exist. This is what Maya Pratyana. Gita, in plain, simple language, it is stated Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, this is incredible. Mam eva ye prapadyanti. Even though I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but I've studied Sanskrit, how can you really twist this statement? When Krishna says, Mam eva ye prapadyanti, surrender unto me, what can you present an alternative meaning? But people still present an alternate meaning. And they are Sanskrit scholars. These are called as Mahaprat Jnana. Like that is mentioned. That Prabhupada talks about how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the unauthorized interpretation of the Gita by the class of Maya Aparadhyana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. Next, who are Aswaram? Aswaram are people who are openly atheistic. Three categories of people Prabhupada describes in this purport. One, who are envious of Krishna. First is who do not believe in Krishna. They are atheistic. Second ashram, those who want to alienate or those who want to destroy the evidences of presence of Krishna. This is ashram. Third are those who want to become Krishna. These all are three of ashram category. You getting it? First, who do not believe in Krishna. Second, want to destroy the evidences of the presence of Krishna. So those who do not believe in Krishna are atheists. Those who want to destroy the evidences of Krishna are the scientists. And those who want to become Krishna are the Mayavadis. These are the Agyanis for that reason. This is what is being described in the puppet. Next, Chaturveda to Arjuna wonders, my dear Lord, then who surrenders unto you? Krishna says, there are four kinds of Sukriti, pious living entity who surrender unto me. Ato jigyasu arthati myanicha bharatasabha. Distressed, inquisitive, desirous of wealth, and one who is in knowledge, they come to my shelter. Now, does it mean who is distressed, everyone goes to Krishna? No. Krishna says Sukriti. Those who are of pious nature, they only come to my shelter. Now, does it mean, for example, in our Hindu society at large, when people are in distress, they go to Hindu temple? Hindu temple is like the original shopping mall. You know, when you go to big shopping complexes, what you find? You find hundreds of stores. Pepe, Louis, or you name the brand, right? And you go to different shop, according to your pocket size, you purchase the cloth. Similarly, our temples had been like the original shopping malls, where you have many devatas present there. And we go and almost on every door we go and make a prayer. And where we have the most faith that here my prayers are heard quickly, we spend little 2 minutes extra because there's a lot of potential there, isn't it? So now these people who are going to these Hindu temples, they may go and make a prayer to Shiva, then Durga, then Ganeshi, then who else? Ramji, Lord Shri Krishna, etc. Many other devatas. Do they also consider, or Krishna is also talking about them here? Because while praying to others, they are also praying to Krishna. So they also pray to Krishna. No, Acharya says not at all. These four categories of people are those pious souls who do not take anyone else shelter. If they're distressed, they only pray to Krishna. If they want wealth, they only pray to Krishna. If they have any inquiry, they have any question in their life, they only pray to Krishna. These are the four categories. And what are the examples? Artho, distressed, is who prayed to Krishna when he was distressed? Gajendra. He didn't say, okay, let me try Durga. She didn't come. Okay, let me try Shivji. He also didn't come. Let me try Ganeshi. He didn't come. Okay, let me try Vishnu. Maybe he may come. No, he only prayed to Vishnu. Then Jigyasu, Shaunakadi Rishi. They were curious, and they were asking bona fide representative Sutta Goswami, the great devotee of the Lord. And then Arthati, who wanted wealth, Dhruva Maharaj. And then Jnani are four Kumaras, like that. Sukdev Goswami, you can say monist. So these are the four categories of people which are being discussed here. This is the meaning of it. I gave you the little sum of substance of it. You can read the purport. Let's read the second paragraph. When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by association of pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with the pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with furtive activities come to the Lord in material distress. At that time, associate with pure devotees and become in their distress devotees of the Lord. Those are similarly frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service. So Prabhupada is just giving example in what was the situation. People may come, and through the association of pure devotee, they may take up to devotional service. The last few lines. On the whole, when the distressed, inquisitive seekers of knowledge and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotee. So the point Prabhupada is making here, all these people are coming to Lord for their selfish reasons. That is the point. Particularly Artho, Jigyasu, Arthati. But being in association of the pure devotees, because without the association of devotees, they cannot really worship the Lord. So when they come in the association of devotees, then they get freed from the selfish desires, and they also take to the pure devotional service. That is the reason Krishna calls them Sukritini, because once you start taking shelter of the Lord, which means you're only going to make progress. That is the point is summarized here. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, such for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. With that, we'll pause here. Our time for today is complete. Now, Arjuna has a question. Mighty Lord, you talked about 4 people who come to your shelter. Do you have any preference? Do you say that you like one among them better, or all of them are equal to you? Krishna will say, yes, let me tell you who I prefer among all these 4. With that, the discussion will continue, and finally Arjuna will say, Mighty Lord, what about those who do not approach you but approach devatas for their needs when they're in distress, when they need money. What is their situation? And then the last 10 verses, very, very important section of this chapter, will talk about Krishna's statements about the position of devatas. And for those who are trying to merge in Lord, impersonalists, what happens to them? That will be discussed in the last set of us. So with that, we come to the conclusion today. Jagadaru Srila Prabhupada ki Srimad Bhagavad Gita.